the article at Counterpunch by Thomas C. Mountain. It's useful because it brings forward this particular abuse, but it's incomplete. The point that it makes is the new malaria vaccine developed by GlaxoSmithKline, or GSK, that's being tested on infants in Tanzania. It refers to the fact that there's not much profit to be made by Big Pharma from an effective malaria vaccine of practical use for Africans suffering from the disease. But they're using the opportunity that's being made for philanthropic reasons, purportedly, to test drugs on African babies that they haven't tested on people in the United States, including infants here. There's a history to this. You can go back to the Tuskegee experiment, where for 40 years between 1932 and 1972, the U.S. Public Health Service experimented on 39 black men in late stages of syphilis. They were told they were being treated, but the doctors did not intend to treat them at all. The data for the experiment, and this is documented, was to be collected from their autopsies. So they were left to die, and 28 died directly from syphilis because of the experiment, and another 100 more died of syphilis-related complications. So they killed 128 people, for the purpose of experimentation, black men in the United States. But here, the drug that they selected to use, RTSS, it doesn't really work very well. So what they're doing is they're using it, and they're experimenting with something called an adjuvant. An adjuvant is a pharmacological agent that modifies the effects of other agents, like a vaccine. In other words, what it's intended to do is to make this thing that doesn't otherwise work now work, and that's what the real experiment is. But the drug, the adjuvant that's being used, AS01, isn't really intended for therapy to treat malaria, but rather it's an experimental for treating HIV. And this is GSK's AS01. It's a sapinin derived from the bark of one of the Molina trees, and GSK is collaborating to test it with an HIV GAG-NEF-REF fusion protein. That's what they're called, F4, in the trial. In other words, what they're doing is experimenting for an effective AIDS treatment, or an amplification of the effects of AIDS treatments on African babies who were suffering from malaria, and rather than treating them like in the Tuskegee experiment. There's a historical tradition in the United States and its medical industry of experimenting on black people, and now they're doing it, and again, they're doing it on the ground in Africa.